He just previews off, but we can't see it.
So you don't have a book, right?
I don't have a book. I think I'm gonna come sit next to you if you
You
don't
sit
mind.
next to me now, and,
Mind if I start, I gotta get one of these books. You said you could,
I have the
Wholesale?
website somewhere.
you could wholesale it?
Yeah, no, but they got a break. Actually, I was walking
actually,
Thursday.
you know what, I'll come over here and you'll both have the book, all right?
I was coming Thursday afternoon, about 5 o'clock, and suddenly I'm at the light. Like nobody crosses
Nice
against the
little
light there.
sandwich.
Every light has a button, and you push the button. Everyone does it. All bicycles do
In
it,
LA?
and suddenly someone's beeping. And I'm like, what is going on? I don't see. And then person turns. Guess what? It's the guy who published the book.
Really?
It's like, what are you doing here? Yeah, he was just driving by randomly on the street.
Very good.
My friend, my buddy.
No accidents.
Well, and he was delayed because he had car trouble. He had to add oil to his Prius. So it worked out like exactly. Okay, we're going to say welcome to the Garden of the Spirit, a class studying apples from the orchard. This class meets in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, center of the universe, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe and Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. I hope our video is working, because over here we don't have the video on our screen today, for whatever reason. I hope it has nothing to do with that fall at my computer when I dropped it. Okay, so we're up to page 639. Last time we met a week ago. It was a short class, a small class, right? We met at Cholam.
Alan
You were
and
in
I.
here, right? That was it.
Alan and I, yeah.
Okay, and now we're up to page 639. We're again talking about the items of the four kinds. The esrog, lulav, hadas, and arava. Today we are going to be talking exclusively about the esrog. The Torah does not name it an esrog. The Torah says, the Torah calls it, yeah.
It's a dar.
Pri means the fruit of, eitz is the tree, and hadar means
Glorified.
it's nice, beautiful. Pri eitz hadar, a beautiful fruit of the tree. And that refers to the esrog. Hadar also has a midrashic interpretation, which is the dar means that it dwells. Hadar, that dwells. We say that we have an explanation there that it's a fruit that dwells on the tree year round. So hadar could be beautiful, or it can be which dwells. Okay, so there we are. Last class we mentioned that the esrog, that we connected the four kinds with the four parts of the partsuf, and we said that the esrog is for malchus and nukva. So we're good.
Malchus, Nukva.
Malchus is nukva. Malchus slash nukva is the esrog. Okay. Okay. Rudy, would like to go first? We're on 639, chapter 2.
Dawn of the dew. You shall take for yourselves on the first day of Sukkot the fruit of the beautiful tree,
Just started.
date palms, the branch of the thick bough tree, and willows of the brook. We will now see how the process of resurrection is alluded to in this verse.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the resurrection, the revival of the dead, the Tchias HaMesim, and connect it with the esrog.
Okay?
Right? Of course, it's obvious. You look at the esrog, you think about the revival of the dead. No question.
Naturally.
Naturally.
Of course.
First base.
No, who?
Okay.
Third base.
The mystery of resurrection is as
Should
follows. Resurrection will occur by means of holy spiritual droplets that manifest the name of Hashem, whose numerical value is that of the word for dew, Tal 39. This name is formed by spelling out the first three letters of the name Havaya, Yud, Hey, Vav.
Oh, hold on.
Yud is Yud, Vav, Dalet, 10, 6, and 4 is 20. Hey is Hey, Aleph, which is 5, 1, 6. Vav is Vav, Aleph, Vav, 6, 1, and 6 is 13. Total is 39.
So, yeah, and
Which
this,
is
if
Tal.
it's,
Yeah, which is Tal.
which is the first three letters. We've had before, where we talked about the first three letters only.
Oh, yeah.
A few times. This expansion of the spelling matches the spelling that equals 45. Because
Right.
I think
Yes, you'd have, yes, equal 4.
Because
Add
the Hey
six-
Aleph.
If you added 6 more,
You got 6 more on top.
add
it's
6 more on top,
45.
they get 45.
Because you got
Right.
39 plus 6,
And you're only using 3
45.
letters.
Thank you.
Add the 4th letter, you get 6 more.
thank you.
Still
Okay.
have jet lag, I know.
Okay. So this equals, so this is Tal 39. The verse says in Yeshaya, chapter 26, near the end. May your dead come to life. May my corpses arise. Awake and shout for joy, you who rest in the dirt, for your dew is like the dew that revives vegetation. May you topple the lifeless wicked to the ground. For your dew, it means just as the dead among your righteous people and the corpse of my people, Israel, this is an allusion to the revival of the dead. Just as your dew revives plants, so you will send dew that will revive the dead. All right. And we're going to explain a little bit about this too. So that equals 39. So 39 is a number that corresponds to Tchias HaMesim, to revival of the dead. Continue.
According to the sages, Hashem will in the future resurrect the dead with dew. Whence do we know that the dead will come to life only by means of dew? It is written, your dead will come to life, my corpses will arise. Awake and shout for joy, O you who rest in the dirt, for your dew is the dew that brings vegetation to life. And the Jewish people expired in ecstasy from hearing the first commandment at Mount Sinai. Hashem revived them using the dew with which he will in the future resurrect the dead. Here it is explained that this dew is in fact a physical manifestation of the name of Hashem, whose numerical value when spelled out is the same as that for the word dew. We see here that this name is actually the name Havaya without the final Hey. As we will see presently, the final Hey is manifest as the dead, that these 3 letters are meant to revive. The resurrection of the dead is thus the rejoining of the first 3 letters of the name Havaya with its last letter.
Whoa.
So,
Whoa. Whoa.
Allen rule number, Allen, whatever.
what?
Allen's rule. It's Allen's rule. It's Allen's rule.
No, this one makes this is different, though. This
No,
is,
no, this is good.
How's that?
No, it's.
How does what's the thing about the Allen rule?
You just add on something to make it come out to what you want it to be.
What are we adding on?
Just adding on the hay.
Well, the hay.
I don't
no,
I,
this-
I don't see that here.
I don't see that this here.
I don't see any stretches over here.
No, not
And
stretch
so
here.
let me just review to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah,
We have the 4 letters of Hashem's name.
yeah.
Yeah.
The first 3 letters correspond or indicate the
Do.
dew that causes the revival. The final letter Hey, and that equals 39. The final letter Hey corresponds to the dead who come back to life.
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
We got it.
okay, and we have a question here.
No, I just want an interesting comment. I learned recently that Yud K Vav K corresponds to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the last Hey, Yud K Vav corresponds to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the last Hey corresponds to David HaMelech,
To David? Okay.
aka Mashiach. And now we're saying Yud K Vav corresponds to Tal, and Hey corresponds to the dead, who will be resurrected in the time of Mashiach.
With the dew.
With the dew,
Which,
which is
the
David,
first three.
which
Which
is
is
Hey,
David.
which is David, which is Mashiach. No, it's just what it's
Okay.
just all these little
oh, yeah.
Yes.
bridges and connections. You can keep going.
Okay.
I'll take you. Bring me home, I'll tell you.
All right. I seen something recently on the dew, and I don't remember what it was. I think it connected it with Adam and Chava and Gan Eden, but I don't remember what.
What about that we start saying Talamatar on Pesach? It's Yetzias Mitzrayim. Zman Cheresenu.
Well, and the leaving Egypt is compared to
Tchias Mason, no?
to the springtime.
Springtime or
Yeah, and we have I
spring.
don't know, maybe it was connected to in Gan Eden. It says that there was a mist
Yes,
There's a
exactly.
mist.
arose from the ground. I think that was it. It drew a lot of parallels,
That's more like.
and I think that was the
That's what it is.
dew.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So 640. We'll continue. These droplets of dew.
These droplets descend from the brain of Zer Anpin to its Yesod, and from there to the land of the living in Malchut. The Jewish souls there receive these droplets, and they come to life. Although generally we say that the 4 letters of the name Havaya are manifest in the 4 parts of Fim, Abba, Ima, Zer Anpin, and Nukva. Respectively, if we narrow our focus into Zer Anpin and Nukva, these 4 letters are manifest in them also as a unit. The first 3 letters are the intellect and the emotions, which is the bulk of Zer Anpin, while the final Hey continues to signify Nukva or Malchut. Thus, the resurrection of the dead, that is the reunion of the first 3 letters with the Hey, is synonymous to the coupling of Zer Anpin with Nukva.
Ah.
Good evening.
Okay, so here we're making a connection with something that we've had a lot. We have
this all the time.
the joining of
The
Zer
joining of Zer
Anpin
Anpin and
Right.
Nukva.
with Nukva,
It's the rebirth.
and that yes.
And the hay is synonymous with the woman.
Right.
Yeah,
Zer
so
Anpin is
this-
male.
Above is the male.
But in this sense, there's a very close correspondence now to what happens when the revival of the dead.
All right.
By revival of the dead comes about through a joining of male and female.
The yud is the sperm, the vav is the organ, the hay is the female.
Mhm.
And when you take those 3, you combine it with the hay, which is the dead, which then becomes the rebirth, that's the cycle. You follow me?
No.
So the yud is the sperm.
Okay.
The vav is the organ, the hay is the female
The
organ.
first hay?
Yes. Okay, so you've got the yud vav hay, right? So that's the creation. The hay is the dead. The hay is also significant of the female. So when you bring the 2 together, the yud vav hay and the final hay, that creates the completion. That's the rebirth.
It's an interesting idea. Over here, he's saying something a little different.
The dew, like you said a moment ago, is reminiscent of the firmament, which was the spark of creation. Not the man, but the world. The world started forming when the firmament, which was brought on by the last piece, which was the trees, according to the Chumash, and that's significant
Yes.
of the trees, is that started springing forth, the grass and everything
Okay, good, good. What, that's an interesting, yes. Here he's saying something a little different. Here he's saying that the last hay is the female?
Is Nukva.
Yep, but the first hay
Is part of.
is
their
part
own-
of the male component. Is a component of the male.
Okay.
It's a little different, is what he's saying here.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What's the brain of Zeranpin? What is the brain referring to? Which part of the?
Every part, like we count in the Sfira Sa'omer, every item is comprised of all the others.
Chochmah
Yeah,
Bina
yeah,
does.
right.
So Ze'er Anpin itself has an intellectual component, has an emotional component, and then a Nukva component within Ze'er Anpin.
As a parts of theme. If you think,
Yes.
of it as a.
A
parts of-
mini parts of within.
Mini parts.
So what would that
I
be?
thought Zeranpin is the motive attributes excluding Malchut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but with
So.
But within that, it has also an intellectual component. It has a feminine component within Ze'er Anpin.
Okay.
Okay, it's subdivided. There are subdivisions here,
Mm-hmm.
as we do when we count the Sphira.
Like the Omer.
We take the 7,
That's
we turn it into
emotional.
49.
This is bigger.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, exactly what it is. It's it gets technical, and people do discuss that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, usually, a lot of times they write about it in the Sphira Somer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You may have seen some things. I don't know if your father brings in every year.
We have Yossi Jacobson.
Yeah, Simon.
Simon
Simon has that, the
The
booklet,
Omer
pamphlet.
Tani. I've used
The
that.
flipping one,
The
yeah.
flipper.
Right.
Yeah.
That's with the emotion.
flipper.
But it has all 49, and meditations are terrific.
Ah.
All
I've
right.
seen that one,
So these droplets on 640. We did that.
No, we're
No.
reading, this accords, we're in the middle
Yeah.
on the commentary. This accords nicely with what we have said previously about the divergent psychologies of man manifesting Ze'er Anpin and woman manifesting Nukva. The male is a priori oriented upward, seeking to abstract himself from reality and reunite with his source. The female is driven to manifest divinity in reality below. Nonetheless, their mutual success is dependent on their cross-fertilization of orientation. If the female detaches herself from the male in order to pursue her ideal of concretizing divine reality below, she will eventually run out of inspiration. She will wither and die. While if the male detaches himself from the female in order to pursue his ideal of abstraction and return to the source, he will eventually become frustrated over his lack of ability to manifest his inspiration. The earth is a common metaphor or appellation for Malchut. Yesod is the foundation of the building of the Sifrot, and thus Malchut, which is below Yesod, is the earth below and supporting the foundation. When Malchut receives influence from Yesod, influx, that is the Yesod of Ze'er Anpin, it is called the land of life, the living land. Specifically, what is transferred to Nukva when it couples with Ze'er Anpin is its inspiration, or drop of its consciousness, which resides in its brain. We see here again the true coupling of male and female is a cross-fertilization of attitudes and orientations of consciousness. The procreative organ receives its true ability to be fruitful and couple when it manifests and is in tune with the spiritual dimension of the individual's mind. Beautiful. Okay?
Okay,
This is the meaning.
let's go on. Yeah, I'm sorry. Continue,
Yeah,
Jim.
yeah. This is the meaning of what is written in the Zohar, okay? That the dew that is shaken off its head, so the head is the head here discussed, the head of the procreative organ, its crown,
Okay.
which you said, we talked about that as also
Yes.
being malchus, as the tip of the.
We did.
original.
Yes.
It was another way of, okay.
Okay. 641. Yoel?
What has been said? Or
Yes.
this is the meaning?
I can't see
Yes.
anyway.
What has been said so far is by way of introduction. Now I, Rabbi Chaim Vital, made efforts to find a scriptural allusion to this, since everything is alluded to in the biblical text.
So now he's going to look, he's going to find with the esrog, like, just at random, going to park himself on the esrog and say, here is where we see that the dew for revival of the dead is like the Ze'er Anpin, and the Yud and the Hey and the Vav, and then the Malchus is at the receiving end, and the dead that are brought back to life. Oh, great.
It is known that the etrog is the manifestation of the crown of the Yisod of Zer Anpin.
In other words, it's Malchus. Yisod corresponds to the bris, and the tip of the bris corresponds to Malchus. So the crown of Yisod, or the tip of the bris, is Malchus, which is the esrog.
Why wouldn't he just say Malchus here? Why would
Because he had just said before. I guess if you get more technical, then you would connect
break
it
it
with the
down,
head
okay.
of Yisod.
I therefore concluded that the future resurrection, that is, the dew referred to above, which Yisod of Zer Anpin receives from its, i.e. Zer Anpin's brain, and transfers to Malchut, should certainly be alluded to in it.
So he said now he's looking on his own. This isn't what he received from his teacher. So now he's going to find this connection. Now you mentioned before, everyone mentioned that the esrog is pre-Eitz Hadar 3 words. And he's going to connect it with Tal Detchia Min Hamoach La. It's a little bit of it's not a quote from anywhere. It's his own phrase, and it's not a sentence that runs smooth. It's not a smooth sounding sentence, but it's a sentence, and we're gonna see what it is. Okay, Yoel, continue.
And indeed, I found that the numerical value of the words for fruit of the goodly tree, Priyat Hadar, is 659. This turns out to be exactly the numerical value of the phrase it, i.e. Zer Anpin, contains the dew of resurrection, which flows from its brain to her, i.e. Malchut, plus the kollel.
You want to read that again? It,
Zer Anpin, i.e. Zer Anpin, contains the dew of resurrection, which flows from its brain to her, i.e. Malchut, plus the kollel. This idea is that expounded on in the above introduction. That must be a typo. This
Expounded
idea
on.
is expounding that out.
I don't know what this idea is that,
Yeah.
but
This idea is expounded on in the above introduction. In Hebrew, this phrase reads Bo tal detchia min hamuach la. Bo bet vav equals 2 plus 6 equals 8. Tal tet lamed equals 9 plus 30, 39. Detchia dalet taf chet yud hey 4, 400, 8, 10, 5, 427. Min mem nun equals 40 plus 50, 90. Hamoach hey mem vav chet 5, 40, 68 equals 59. And la lamed hey 30 plus 5 equals 35 equals 658 plus the kollel is 659.
so here I would agree that we can, what's the word, impose Allen's rule.
Why? Because you think
You're adding the wild card. You add what you have to add to make it equal with what you want it to be equal. You want to equal to 659. The numbers only add 658.
No, not because
the
of that.
kollel is a general
Because
rule.
the verse, the phrase appears to be, and I'm not on the level of Rabbi Chaim Vital, but it appears to be an arbitrary phrase.
Yeah, where's this phrase from?
It's
His
his own
phrase?
it's his own phrase.
Okay, so this doesn't,
And
there's no
There's no scriptural
scriptural,
or
you know,
or Zohar
Right.
or Talmud, Maimar Razal, a statement of the rabbis. There's nothing like this that that is a source for this phrase. Pre-Eitz Hadar are 3 words on the Torah for the Esrog. But this phrase is an arbitrary phrase. It does not move smoothly. It's not a smooth sounding phrase. It sounds very what's the word? Disjointed, abrupt, arbitrary,
awkward.
awkward.
Awkward. It's a good phrase. That's good. That's good description.
So, anyways, that's my feeling on this.
I mean, it works out.
Yeah, bo tal detria min hamoach la. That in it is the dew of resurrection, and it's from the intellect to it, to her, to Malchus.
What is the Hebrew word for mist?
Mist, the Torah says the word aid, aleph, daled.
Right? Is that typically how you refer to mist? Aid?
It is probably, it's a very uncommon word in the entire 5 books. That might be the only place. There might be,
Or is Aleph and Dalet add up to 5, which is the
which is the hay. Could be the only place.
the last piece that had to occur before man was created. Was the aid. Is your 5.
Yeah. Okay. It all fits. Okay. Go ahead, Yoel. At the bottom of 641.
I was just processing what we just read. The meaning is that the crown of Yesod of Zer Anpin, which is the fruit of the goodly tree, receives the dew of resurrection from the brain of Zer Anpin, and then gives it to Malchut. Those who dwell in it, that is, in the land of Israel, or Israel, receive it and thus live forever.
Hold up before you turn. Before you turn, I mentioned at the beginning that pre-Eitz Hadar. Hadar is beautiful fruit. It is also the word Hadar, which dwells. So that's why here he makes the connection, those who dwell in it. Those who dwell in the land of Israel. Okay, and there are special privileges and honors that is received for dwelling in the land of Israel. Processed? Okay, 642.
Well,
Alan?
Thus we see that all the mysteries of the Torah are alluded to and concealed deep within Scripture. Furthermore, it is explained in the Zohar that the origin of this dew is in Atika.
Okay,
That
so
is
again, remember,
Arich
there was a teaching that he had about the dew, and Rabbi Chaim Vital is looking for a source for this in the Torah, and he's connecting it to the Esrog. He finds this idea in the Esrog. Okay, so now the Zohar says that the origin of this dew is in Arich Ampin.
Arich Anpin is the parts of suprarational will. The ultimate origin of Zer Anpin's mentality and consciousness is its suprarational will. This will drive Zer Anpin toward self-expression and motivate it to couple with Nukva. If this will is not manifest, then there will be no coupling. Zer Anpin will be cold, sterile, or impotent. I discovered this is alluded to as well in the words of Scripture themselves. The numerical value of the words fruit of the goodly tree is 659 as above. This is also the numerical value of the phrase dew from Atika with the kolel.
Only 2 words. We just said that the origin of the dew is Atika.
So, yeah.
Atik is commonly called Atik, but in Aramaic it would be Atika.
So
Additional aleph.
dew from Atika is tal me Atika. Tal, which is tet lamed, 9 plus 30 is 39. And then me Atika is mem ayin love yud kaf aleph, 40 plus 70 plus 400 plus 10 plus 100 plus 1, 621. And you add them all up, you get 660, which is 659 plus the kolel.
Huh?
659 plus 1.
Tal Meatika is 660.
Is 660. 30
Okay.
is 660.
So which kolel are we talking about?
No, the fruit of the goodly tree is 69 plus the kolel.
Yes.
Gives you the 660.
Good. Okay, we add 1 for pre-Eitz Hadar. Okay.
We thus see how the origin of the dew is alluded to in the words of Scripture as well.
Do you mind if I look at something? This paragraph throws me off right here.
Yeah. So if anyone has,
This is a little strange, but this is key to what he just read. Pre-Eitz Hadar is 659, which is, and then you place with the kolel.
What is this bridge between this on 641, the bottom? It says the meaning is that the crown of Yesod of Zer Anpin, which is the fruit of the goodly tree, receives the dew of resurrection from the brain of Zer Anpin and then gives it to Malchut. Okay, so the crown of Yesod of Zer Anpin is not Malchut. It's a bridge to Malchut, right?
go back.
The crown of
Go back to
the
640.
crown of Yesod of Zer Anpin, which is the fruit of the goodly tree, receives the dew of resurrection from the brain of Zer
Yoel,
Anpin.
go back to 640.
Yeah.
The bold. These droplets.
The brain of Zer Anpin.
This, we're
to
talking about the
Yesod, and
droplets
from there
of
to the land
dew
of living.
that induce revival of the dead.
There to the land of the living, and Malchut, the Jewish souls there receive the Shabbos and come to life.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay, so this is now this like well, I wasn't exactly expecting this, but we get Tchias HaMesim, we get revival of the dead.
Okay, so
Over here.
So every year we couple the etrog with the other 3 species, and how is that mitzvah conducive to? How does that affect Tchias HaMesim within our lives? What's the
According
connection
to this-
between etrog and Tchias HaMesim?
According to this,
Gematria-
it is it's a symbol of the Tchias HaMesim. The esrog represents the same process that is expressed by Tchias, that happens during Tchias HaMesim.
And I'd assume that Lulav, Arava, and Hadassah are
Right.
Yud, Hey, Vav.
If you go to the.
We had last week.
Before-
But they were?
I don't remember exactly.
That's
Do you
what I'm
remember?
And etrog is Hey, is the last Hey.
Yeah, if you go to the piece before, which is the 4 plants.
Right,
That
that's
whole
that.
piece is described as you're talking about
Yeah.
right here. So you gotta look at this, and then, because this really leads into this. So if you, to get the book, his book, okay, read the.
But
4
in
plants.
in today's chapter, he doesn't go into that.
Right.
He talks about that the esrog is corresponds to the same, or is a symbol of the same process by which revival of the dead happens.
and the esrog manifests malchus, alluding to the final hay smoothed out as hay. I'm just,
Can I use it? Can I say
Yeah,
this one?
yeah.
I just want to see the beginning.
What aspect of the esrog does Chaim Vital use to infer that it's the raising of the dead? Is it the pre-Eitz Hadar? Is it gematria?
The-
Is it
Two things, maybe.
shape, the fact that it stays on the tree?
Well,
throughout the
it's
year?
for
What-
one, the esrog corresponds to malchus.
that's
That's That's first of all. The second,
the feminine, as you were talking about before. I think your idea fits right.
the second is that apparently the esrog carries this message, bears the message of a hamshacha, of drawing into malchus, of drawing into malchus from moach, from intellect, via za. The za is a channel that pulls from the intellect and transmits to malchus. And that is the process of revival of the dead.
I wonder why during Hallel on Sukkot they put the etrog to the side. We only pick up the etrog for Hodu
Oh, for the second half.
for the second half. We put it down and we're holding only the lulav and
Yeah,
the lulav.
Don't know.
And then
How
what's
I don't
this-
know how it would fit in here. Doesn't have to, but it may.
There's one line that's towards the end of this chapter that was talking about how if the crown of Zeron pin is not stimulated, then Yisod, there's no connection, there's no coupling between the Yisod.
In the last week,
No.
in this week,
And there's no coupling between the Yisod of Zeron pin and Malchut. Meaning, if someone's intellect,
this is like what we said before, that you need to look back. We have it a month, 2 months ago. They need to know where you're coming from in order to know where you're going.
no, I'm just making a comment.
Yeah, that's an example. Oh, comment? Go
I'm
ahead.
making a comment that I'm wondering if this intellect, so between a man and a woman, right? The man is, this is essentially a spiritual explanation of of union. So the man, in order to be stimulated, has to have an intellectual. There has to be an intellectual stimulation.
We have a rule. This is true.
Yeah.
And we
Is
have
that, my question is that intellectual stimulation an attraction? Meaning I see that she's beautiful or I'm attracted to something about her? And maybe that's why a man is chiyuv to look before he's under the chuppah?
There are a few things that we've spoken about, we've had on different occasions. One is an attraction that's based on emotions, feelings, and then the other is and that's considered an immature relationship. And then there is a more mature, developed relationship that comes also with an intellectual plane that's also driving the attraction, where people have a deep appreciation for each
one
other.
another, right.
It's not just emotional, but it's also through. It's also just a minute. It's also through an intellectual relationship, an intellectual appreciation of the other person. The and that's a healthy, mature, developed relationship. We also have another thing that we talked about last week, and this is connected with where intimacy is coerced, and the question actually is in the Gemara Talmud referring to if a man can be coerced, can claim coercion, and get from let's say an illicit act. And over there we have a rule that arousal for the man can only happen with das, with intention. Is that last week?
What about
Yeah,
Lot?
that's
What about
exactly what I was pointing to.
what about Lot and his daughters?
That's exactly what I was pointing to. Just read this. Just read this.
So
piece.
that is a law in the Talmud. Over there it means
But-
that the man can only be actively involved
So then
if
lo-
he's if he's you know intellectually if he has intent. Over here we take it to mean that there has to be a component of das, of intellect, for proper coupling.
So with Lot and his
Yes.
daughters, it specifically says without him knowing of their getting up and going down.
Yeah.
There was no dots.
Yeah, so over there it means that he's not being aware of what's going on,
Yeah, but there was coupling.
but there is an intellectual component there. Is one thing. Another thing maybe is that we say that when you reach the level of drunkenness of Lot, it's already, all bets are off. That's not, a person's not, legally, a person's not bound, let's say, by what he said, or if he reached that level. If he davened, his davening doesn't count.
This is, that's exactly what he was.
Yeah,
Reminding you.
yeah, thank you for pointing that out. So, let me also, it's gonna take me a few minutes to clean up, so I'm gonna end this here. Hopefully, we have video.